You talk about influencers. These are influencers, and they're friends of mine. Jack Posobiec. Where's Jack? Jack, who's done a great job.
I believe, if I read right, and people can check me on this, that Utah courts are allowed to have cameras inside.
So they have a rule in Utah that's actually very permissive for cameras, and I don't know the exact citation. It's like 4104
Right.
Utah rule, and it says there is a presumption that courtroom trials will be televised, or what they say, reported on using electronic devices. So they have the presumption of openness and transparency written into the law, which is actually very open compared to some of the other states. I think it's great.
Yeah. I mean, unless it has to be sealed because something's classified or whatever,
Yeah,
and I'm okay with that. But even then,
kids or something. I mean, you can think of potential reasons.
There's
but
permutations of it, but yeah, for this particular one, because it's Charlie Kirk, and he was such a historic figure in world history. You know, as I look back at different types of people, which is something that I do study, Charlie's unique. He's very unique, and he was unique, you know, for this country going forward. And so it's a tragedy that our country lost a great leader. And now I think that we should be fighting, our government, our justice system, Justice Department should be fighting tooth and nail to keep this trial public, very public. And let's let everybody see what's being presented.
The judge is yet to rule, so we'll see what happens. But we wrote over at Human Events, and Libby Emmons, our editor, had this great line that I just have to keep repeating. She said, you know, Charlie didn't have a say in whether or not his murder would be public.
Right.
That was on livestream. And we do have a say, though, over the trial, so it should be public, too.
Yeah, I agree.
And we know in this day and age, even the fact that he did the murder on livestream, right, that it occurred, that's a form of asymmetric warfare as well, because they know, of course, when you see Charlie Kirk on campus, the clips are everywhere and everybody's watching when he goes and does these debates. So to do it on live video that way, not when he's getting in or out of a car or something, it's meant as a form of an asymmetric attack, isn't it, on everyone who's watching?
Absolutely. It's intentional. It's very intentional, and to try to strike fear. I mean, that's what an act of terror is. An act of terrorism by definition, it is meant to strike fear in the hearts and minds of whatever it is that's been attacked, you know, society, a religion, whatever. And that's the whole purpose of it. So it's to strike fear. And frankly, what I have seen since Charlie's murder, is I've seen young people standing strong. And that's encouraging to me, who is a guy who, you know, kind of, you know, getting long in the tooth, but still fighting for this country, by seeing these young people who are sort of the future Charlie Kirks in different places. It's like the apostles, right? They get anointed and then they go around the world to preach the gospel, right? So that to me is very, very encouraging, and that's a legacy, and that's something that we want to encourage. That's why I think that it's another reason why this trial needs to be very transparent.
They're telling me the time, but if I have just time for one more question. This dust up that we've seen between, you know, and it's sort of going after these left-wing networks, they're talking about a dust up, FBI, NCTC, people arguing over who's got authority to go after these networks, et cetera. What would you say to come in, from your perspective, having been in the IC, having been a leader there? Is there a way to get over these turf battles? Is there a way to set up a JTF or something? Because at the end of the day, it's about disrupting the networks and keeping people safe, not about who gets credit.
Yeah, in fact, if you're worried about who gets credit, then you're in the wrong business. You know, credit will come when others give it to you, right? So, first of all, this latest dust up, the way I understood it was that there was a meeting in the White House in the Situation Room, and it was leaked. It was leaked. So there's a crime right there. So somebody said what happened in that meeting to the media. So everybody that was in that meeting should be given a one-time poly. So that's what I would do. So if I was the Vice President of the United States or the President, I would say, get everybody back in there, and I'll give you the question. Give them a one-time poly to see who leaked that information to. I think it was to the Washington Post, right? I think that was the first, or the Times. It was one of the first ones that I had seen. Number one. So that's Okay, get that off the table. But I do think that clearly the FBI has jurisdiction, so it's a jurisdictional issue. But there's too many questions out there that still remain. So instead of having an infighting and who's going to get credit for what, I think the bigger question is, what do we believe? So I look at myself as an American citizen. What do the American citizens believe right now that are here? And these people represent, 75 million of them, right? So what do they believe? They believe that there's more to it. So I think from the perspective of the administration and the perspective of certainly the Department of Justice, it ought to just be, look, we're looking at everything. We are looking at every single angle, not just of the trajectory of the bullet, but we're looking at every angle of this investigation. We are going to dig, because Charlie Kirk deserves it, okay? His legacy deserves it. The American people deserve it. The people that Charlie Kirk was leading, as a huge movement, they deserve it. So if something comes, if new evidence becomes available, we're not going to close this thing. We're not going to shut our eyes and say, open and shut case, it's a done deal. I think if they said that to the American people, I think that the American people go, okay, that we're going to trial. We'll see what happens. We're gonna.
One of the constructs that I've been pitching is, let's get a joint interagency task force and have it not just on this, but on all left-wing net violence, all networks.
They probably have something like that.
I hope so.
Cash and Dan are too smart to not do something like that. The intel community, the people that are doing this, my guess is they probably have that. The challenge is that you're gonna get different things. I mean, we cannot deny the things that we have seen, right? So videos and such, you can't deny this. Back to the truth and discernment. So I think all that I get it all the time, is just let us know that there's an open investigation. We're looking at everything. And I think if that was the answer, I think everybody they wouldn't shut up and go home, but they would at least temper down and say, okay, the FBI's got this, and I believe that they do. But I do believe that there's other things that must be looked at. There has to be looked at, because we have already learned this with the assassinations of many people going back to the 60s, right? And we've learned this with other school shootings. When we look at the cell phone of an individual and we see that person did something, they're in touch with everything. There's no doubt, factual now, that there are other connections to these shooters that are out there.
General Flynn, your staff has given me the look. You've been incredibly generous with your time. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me today.